Welcome to Awaken Health Pod. I'm Jennifer Grogan with Greenleaf Wellness here in Central Illinois.
And I'm Shauna Squardell with Inspire Wellness for You in Arizona. Welcome, everybody. How are you, Jen?
I'm doing real good. You?
Good.
Good.
So at the beginning of the new year, I think it was like January 2nd, we really jumped in there and we wrote out some of our topics to kind of get us through the first quarter with our Awaken Health Pod Wellness podcast. And we also, along the way, had some requests from our listeners. We thank you so much. And we're getting to near the end of our list of topics, but today's topic is how positive self-talk improves your health and wellness. And then we're going to have to come up with our new list of topics as well. So basically, we're going to share a little bit from experience through the years, Jen and I. And it's almost Valentine's Day. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day 2019. So we want you to love yourself. Right?
Exactly. Mind, body, and spirit. That vitamin L, love yourself. I think that's something we don't give ourselves enough credit for and time for because of all the negative talk that we allow ourselves to believe, and I think that's where we're going to get at today. For me, especially, the self-talk has been huge of how I feed myself. What kind of words am I talking to myself? What am I allowing myself to believe? And am I, giving myself the words of love and affirmation that I need? So we always try and get it from everybody else, but we're the last resort that we turn to, and I've overcome a lot just in the journey of starting a business a year and a half ago. I mean, it's intimidating and it's fun, scary, but going from the shift of I can't or what if it doesn't work to all this negative talk, like I don't know enough, I don't know, blah, 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 blah. And taking that leap of faith and turning it around to I can and I will. And those are my words for the year. And, it goes beyond just having a business, but, it can go with your self-image and all the other stuff too. So for me, it's been a great challenge and a reward to go from the thinking of negative about myself to turning into positive. And when you do that, the confidence that comes with it, and then, that, oh, I did it, I conquered it, I faced my fear and did it anyway. And now look what's happening. Doors are opening up of opportunity, and it's amazing.
Isn't it amazing? Yeah.
Yes.
The universe speaking with us. It's just crazy how powerful the mind can be. I mean, we know it's, part of the engine of the body, and it's like a computer. It's amazing. We all have those thoughts, it's normal, for crazy and weird and, negative thoughts to come to our mind. But I'm glad that you mentioned affirmations and positives, because a little trick that I learned along the way was for every negative, replace it with 3 positives. Well, recently it's been revised to every negative, replace it with 5 positives. And I like that better. And so I'm choosing that route, and it's helpful. It's, I read a statistic, and I'll have to find it to see if I can post it, but over 90%, almost about 95% of our thoughts are autopilot. It's less than 5%, closer to 4%, where our thoughts are our choice. So a lot of the times our thoughts are coming in and they're just going about their business all day long, and we don't really take precedence over it and take control over it and de-tier our thoughts and get ourselves back on track, So a lot of the times I'll go, oh, that kind of stunk, and I'm like, wait a minute, life's beautiful, everything's amazing. What did I have going on for the day? I'm going to focus on those things. And it's a habit you can build, just like with any other habit that we build, whether it's good habit or bad habit. Your thoughts are, you build the myelin in your brain and you build the habit. I mean, for breathing, I think I've been focusing on my breathing. I've always kind of focused on my breathing, but for about almost a month now, I'm really focusing on my breathing, and I'm finally building that habit, because now something really stressful can happen and I can be like, oh, screw that. I'm not going to worry about that. I'll just sit here and breathe. Life's so good. And it works. It's helpful.
Yes.
So,
well, I think if we sit there and tell ourselves, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm stupid, I'm dingy, whatever those negative forms are, you start believing them yourself, and that you'll actually become that. And then people
absolutely.
around you are going to start picking up on that. And then you're going to be more influenced to believe that about yourself.
And so you said that your 2 words were I can and I will for the year. Mm-hmm. So something I've learned along the way too is, instead of I have to, say I want to, mm-hmm. or instead of, I need to, you can say I want to. So it is simple as I have to do the dishes. So I'll correct myself. If I'm talking to somebody, instead of saying, I have to do the dishes, I'll say I'm going to do the dishes. Or, I have to pay that bill. It's, I'm going to take care of some finances and then I'll be available. Those simple things, because anxiety plays a huge role in our mentality and our thought process. Mm-hmm. And the way, a lot of people don't realize this, but the primary way that anxiety happens and triggers is from a repeated negative pattern of the same circumstance. So a lot of clients I've shared this with before, and I always give the same example. So many of you might have heard this already. But for example, if your electric bill comes in the mail and you're struggling financially, and every time your electric bill comes in the mail, oh my gosh, the electric bill, oh, the electric bill, oh, the electric bill came today, you will build anxiety when the electric bill comes, to the point where when the electric bill comes, you might get shaky, or your heart, will increase, the heartbeat will increase, and then you just feel like almost like it's ruined your day. And so that's how anxiety occurs. You mix that in with hormonal imbalance and extra caffeine and whatnot, and it can really set you off. So changing your thought pattern to everything's okay, the electric isn't going to get shut off, everything's good, everything will work out. I mean, basically talk about fake it till you make it. Prime example. Even if you have to lie to yourself, it will change. The anxiety will go away, the stress will reduce, and you'll feel better thinking positively. And you can use this in so many areas of your life.
I agree. I'm in a course right now. I'm not going to share what it is yet, but I have a huge test coming up, and I found myself just this morning like, well, I'm not a test taker. What if I'm like, no, stop. You're going to do this. You're already doing it. So, give yourself some credit for the hard work you put into your study, and you can do it. Absolutely. The only reason why you won't do it is if you freak out on yourself, so I've learned anything that comes in my mind, I will question it. So if I say something like, oh, you don't know enough, and I'll be like, okay, is that really true? I'm beyond where I was 2 years ago. I'm beyond where I was 3 years ago, and I think that's one way of shutting it up. Or you might say, I feel really fat. And you're like, okay, am I really? Or is that just the pressure I'm putting on myself? Is it because I'm having a bad day? Am I just nitpicking every little thing because something went wrong today? And it's just changing everything that comes in, changing the mindset and questioning. And if it's a lie, which most of the times it is, so if you have a fear of something, dissect why you're afraid. Mm-hmm. And you're going to find out there's nothing to be afraid of. Mm-hmm. The worst case scenario, if you go out and you want to be brave in your work and you're trying to network and you want to reach a new plateau and you have this goal of meeting this business owner, if you already freak out ahead of time and you're afraid, you've already set okay, well, it's not going to work out. But if you take that leap of faith and you say, you know what, I'm good enough for this. I have something to offer. I'm going for it. Because the worst case scenario, it's going to be no. So for me, in the past, I've done door knocking. And one of the biggest things you have to overcome in door knocking for work is no. And I've had so many no's. I'm just like, no big deal. Next. So it's like you just keep going. But question everything. And if it's not true, don't believe it and then continue on, because you're going to find that by continuing on to go past that fear, doors of opportunity open, and it's amazing.
Well, and that works for child rearing as well. So when my kids say, I'm not good at this, I'm probably a little obsessive, but I'm right there saying, don't tell yourself you can't. Say, I can, and I will, and I'm going to do it. And even just this morning, my 2 girls will bicker sometimes. And my daughter was saying, oh, my sister, she always copies me and da-da-da-da-da. And so I said to her, instead of thinking, hey, my sister always copies me and it's really annoying, what if you told yourself, I'm so cool, I'm so pretty, I'm such a big sister, my little sister likes, me, she likes the stuff I'm doing, she looks up to me. If you told yourself that, you're going to feel better about the situation. And so sometimes she'll say, but it's annoying. And I'll say, you're choosing for it to be annoying. It doesn't have to be annoying. And she just kind of looks at me like, really? I thought you were going to go talk to Bridget. I was going to get this off my chest. So it's really important. But what you were just saying is how just telling yourself and pushing yourself kind of and getting yourself through, because if you tell yourself negatively, that's going to play out those negative. It's very true. Statistically, our mind can do so many things, over 10 million in like a day, more than that, I'm sure. And we don't realize it. But there's something that I've been studying that it can't do so much. And that is judging reality from thought. So for example, in hypnosis and stuff like that, people will do weird things. Well, they'll say, oh, close your eyes. My finger's really hot. I'm going to put my finger on you. And some people have actually received burns on their skin. Or the whole placebo effect, right? With surgeries or medication. And so the mind, when we have a thought or a nightmare, our blood pressure will raise, we'll get startled, we'll feel shaky. So if you really let yourself go down that path, it will have an effect on you. So changing the reality and saying, this isn't real, this isn't really happening, I don't really have anything to worry about. If I can just get through this hour, then I don't have to worry so much anymore. And so knowing that it's crazy and it's wild, but it's important. And so were you going to say something?
I was agreeing with you. I was going to say, you mentioned surgery. I was freaked out about having my foot surgery. Yeah. And the doctor kept raising, oh, you're fine. Sean was like, yo, you're fine. He was a little nervous for me, and I got a hold of my one friend who happens to be a doctor. And I was like, what do I expect? He's like, just take a vacation for 6 weeks. You're going to be fine. Well, just a couple weeks ago, because I made it through surgery and I didn't die, because I had the worst, I don't know, something about when the doctor said, well, we'll put a tourniquet on your leg. That's the worst excruciating pain. If you happen to wake up during surgery, that's what you're going to feel. And so I was like, please give me more meds to knock me out. I don't want to wake up, because I was just fearful of that pain, So just a couple weeks ago, I watched the whole procedure because I have to have the right foot done. And I'm going, but I was like, I have to watch this because I was so curious. Like, what do they do? How are they doing it? And so now, come December of this year, I'm going to go into it and go, okay, no big deal. I've done this before. I've watched the procedure. I can do it myself. But I don't know. It's realizing that your fear is bigger. It's a huge old mountain. I don't know, like a molehill. And that's kind of where I'm at with some of my clients is like, why are you so fearful? Why are you grudgingly not, like rebelling against what you're supposed to be doing? Why can't you just go to the gym or, do whatever? But it's a mental block. And I think for some of them, it's like figuring out what the block is for them and then pushing them just a little bit. Okay, like, why are you not doing this? Or did you know that if you did this, what is, how are you going to feel? And they'll tell you, well, I'm going to feel great. I'm going to feel relieved. I'm going to feel less stress. I'm going to have more energy. And then, okay, well, can we take little baby steps to get you back in there? So it's like, it's all up here. And so if you get rid of those mental blockers, anything's possible, but you have to believe it and not fall into the lies. And I think that for self-image, it's kind of like that Saturday Night Live skit with Michael Jordan. I don't know if you remember, where he's like looking there, I'm good enough, I'm confident, by golly, whatever. And so it's kind of like one of those, you have to literally practice the words of I'm confident. Yeah. I am beautiful. I can do this. I can do great things. I'm doing great things. And just those positive words, and also knowing your influences. So if you're watching the wrong movies that are all negative, if you're hanging out with people that are all negative, if you listen to music that's not positive, more than likely you're going to have a very negative outlook on everything. And you're going to feel like everyone's against you, not with you.
Yeah.
And so if you can identify who you're hanging out with, what you're listening to, and what you're watching plays a huge factor.
Yeah.
So I like to be silent. So my kids come home and I hear those words like your daughter's, I can't do this or I can't do that. I'm like, oh, go back to school. Like you can do it. Yeah. But I like things to be positive and encouraging. And it's really hard when you are in that mindset and you're at peace, and then you're around those negative influences. You're like, oh, I don't want it. I can't watch that. I don't want to listen to that, or, whatever it may be.
Yeah. And everybody does need to vent and socialize and be realistic. But you just don't want it to control you. Mm-hmm. And there's 2 books that come to mind. One, many of you might have already heard of, and it's Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And I love that book. And it's not rich in the sense of the financial aspect. That may be a part of it, but it's primarily rich and successful in your mind and your thoughts and achieving. And he says, most of you know this, what the mind can conceive, it can achieve. So don't put, ceilings, caps on your mentality and your mental status. So expand, and there's a whole world out there, and think big and dream big and vision big, because we do deserve it. And that is what life is about. And then having your faith to guide you, because we shouldn't be full of worry all the time. So that book I think is really good. It's helped people I know very close to me, even with anxiety, because they started to get out of that thought pattern. The other book, I think it's Susan Page is the author, and it's called How the One of You Can Bring the Two of You Together. It's mainly a relationship book, but it's got something in there called Act As If. And I think this plays a role in positive or negative self-talk. So acting as if, the day is going the way you want it, or the situation, or the phone call, or the event, or whatever it is. So you're mentally turning the tables, and what she also says in there is our thoughts affect our feelings, and our feelings affect our actions. I love that, because our actions are off of feelings that maybe aren't real, so knowing, like you said, am I actually, looking this way, or can I have something to offer to these people? So knowing your reality, that way you're not battling what's not real. And then, a feeling is what we know as feeling: sad, happy, mad, frustrated. It's not of that. So when we're upset, it's good to be clear and then kind of put it away or come back to it later. So I like those books because they help you guide your mind to a positive path. And always prayer. As health coaches, this is why we do the circle of life, because your spiritual wellness is important. I actually kind of view spiritual wellness with the balance scale just on its own. Because if your spiritual wellness or your spirituality is down, then your negative thoughts and your worry and fear and anger and all of that crummy stuff that we don't want to live in primarily, it's not going to be balanced. So
no, I agree.
Important.
Totally. Very, very true. I would say too, don't compare yourself to others, whether it's, business related or non-business related. I don't think that you should compare. We're all uniquely designed by God to be who we are and what he created us to do for our purpose. So if you go and you compare yourself to somebody else because, oh, they look prettier than you, so you think, or because they're more established, so you think, or they have more money, so you think. So, it's all up here. And I think that let them be them and what they're doing and where they're doing it and who they're doing it with, but stay focused on you and your true self and your true abilities, because that's where the true peace comes from. So if you know God's given you ability to do something, then seek him and let him lead. And that's what I do. I don't want to compare myself to everybody else because I kind of like being myself, and it took me a long time to get here, but it's very peaceful when you do get there. And the comparison, even like little kids, you watch them grow up and they're always, well, I need these pair of shoes because so-and-so has them at school, or I need this shirt because so-and-so has it at school. And I'm like, well, do their parents want to go buy $300 pair of shoes for you? Because we live in reality over here that we can't afford that. So you are you, and we'll make do with what we can. It's like, stop comparing.
Yeah.
We should be lifting each other up, not comparing. Yeah. And by doing that, you're going to nitpick yourself more. That negative is going to come up and you're not going to have the joy that you truly deserve. So I think it's really important, just kind of let them be them. If they influence you in a positive form, then take some of that and then build in.
Inspired. Right. Exactly.
But don't try to, feel like you need everything they're doing and have. Absolutely. And focus on what you do have, because you have what you have for the time that God's given it to you. And it may be more abundant now than what you had in the past. And so by recognizing what you have, it puts a whole new perspective on everything that you do, and just be humbled, and happiness comes from that. So that's a positive, Yeah.
And that's where journaling and writing gratitude, notes of gratitude comes into play. It's really therapeutic. It's a form of self-care, and it helps us get out our thoughts, release them. It helps us find things in life that we are grateful for on those days when we're struggling, because we do all have them. And it can be the simplest thing. And again, the power of the mind is so affected by those little bits of, sweetness that you give. So like I said, fake it till you make it on the bad days or the bad moments the best you can, until, sometimes life gets the best of us and the hormonal regulation and everything goes through, and take it as it comes, try to get support. I've called you and just went down a whoo, So, and then afterwards I'm like, oh, I feel so much better. For like a whole week. I'm like, wow, I really need to get that out. But,
and I listen, I'm just like, I'm right here,
Exactly. And even my own personal health doctor, she reminded me, she said, I've been where you're at, when my health wasn't as optimal as I wanted it to be. And she said, I've been there, and, we all need help and support. And so it's important, that our clients understand that we're human beings and we can relate. And many of the areas that we educate in health is because we are familiar and we've experienced it ourselves. And so, we've been through that path.
Oh, yeah. But, when you're negative, you will eat negative. And if you're feeling positive, you're going to eat the foods that nourish and make you feel free. And so it's really important, like with the journaling, to understand your emotional state of what you're eating. And that's what I do with my clients. I want you to put every frustration, sadness, whatever, if you had a great day, bad day, what did you eat? And make that connection so you can catch it the next time it comes. And it works.
Yeah.
So they can say, well, I had a really crappy day. I went to, a Snickers bar. I probably shouldn't have, but then I reprogrammed it and started all over and went for fruit. So there is a connection.
The best part is not having the guilt that you had the Snickers, but knowing that you splurged and you're not going to let those bacterias control your decision making for the evening or for the next day. and just getting yourself back on track. And then instead of, living in guilt, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? It made me feel like crap. Just be so thankful and blessed. I'm so happy. I'm proud of myself. I got myself back on track. Life's good. We can't live perfect and strict and in restriction all the time. I'm not about that at all. I mean, last week I signed up a client, and the day went on, and come evening time, I hardly ever do this with my family, but my parents came down to watch the old car show, and then into the ice cream shop we went, and then there was, so, but we're normal, and you have to enjoy life. Now, as a mom in my 30s, I have 3 kids, and there's a birthday party, probably 5 every weekend if I really wanted to, immerse myself. So I'm not going to go eat the birthday party food at every single birthday party. But, if I visit you and it's your son's birthday, you're my close friend, I'll, have a little bit of the birthday cake. But so back on positive self-talk.
Ice cream for some is very positive.
Yeah. But our thoughts can be daunting. And I know most of us or all of us have probably been there where, you're in that thick, gloomy mud, and it's daunting, and there's worry, and there's stress. And trust me, stress is a real thing. It's everywhere. And it's just a matter of redirecting your focus. And that's what I myself have been working on for quite a while now, is just, just redirecting my thought patterns. And
you have to, yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
Oh, it's okay. I was just saying, not like a sociopathic way where I'm not living in the real world, but
yeah. Well, I just think, take the time to be more mindful of your thoughts. We teach mindfulness for our clients on what they're eating. And if you can identify the thought patterns, I think that would carry you further and more positive. Just be more upbeat towards life. I know we do get down, but, some get more down than others. And I think this time of year, make sure you got your vitamin D, your vitamin C, and take care of your immune system. Exercise, that will keep you positive, and get to that mindset of, maybe you don't want to go to the gym because you hate the elliptical. I always say I hate the elliptical, but I make it my best friend because it gives the results that I want. And so I have that talk with myself. When I see it, I'm like, oh, I got to get on here. Remember the results, Jen, you're going to love it. And so it's like, okay, let's go. And then you get addicted to it, and it's not addicted to it, but you get attached to the idea, and you become part of it more regularly throughout your week, and you get more energy that way, and you start feeling better. And so,
I always say nobody ever regretted a workout. So you always feel better after the elliptical,
Oh yeah. So it's all on what you allow yourself to do and what you believe, but change your perspective. Is it really that bad? Is it true? That's the big one right there. Is this a lie, or is it true? And then go from there.
And just like you said, or like we were talking about the placebo effect, because there's a documentary out, and it's called Heal. And a lot of it has to do some with fasting, but it also has to do with the power of the mind. And I had a client yesterday who, she had a medical procedure, non-surgical, not too invasive. It was a little startling at first, but she said that, her faith told her that everything's going to be fine, and she doesn't have to carry out the procedure like she thought she would maybe have to. She went in, and the doctor said, you know what? We don't need a procedure. You're good. Everything's clear. And so it makes me wonder, aside from God and, her improving her health, is it also telling herself and being peaceful that everything's going to be okay, and my body's not ready for this, and I don't need this right now. And so it was amazing.
That's awesome.
But I love the Heal documentary. So it's important because depression, chronic depression, is mostly linked to those out of control negative thoughts. And again, we all have them, and they're terrible. And but just having the motivation, having the energy and the guidance to try to put the effort in to snap yourself out of it the best you can and be creative. There's tools out there. There's resources out there. Having a good support system is always helpful. Finding balance in your life is helpful. Definitely having optimal health and wellness is vital because, I always say there's like 2 paths. So if we're not healthy and we're more prone to disease and we're more prone to being on medications or more medications, at some point it's like a branch. You can always break off and try to be healthier, try to be more positive, try to be more confident, try to be more peaceful, whatever it is that you're needing. It's important.
It's very important. But I do want to say that in your journey of changing your thought process around, you may find that it stems from childhood. And you may find that it's, coming from people that maybe they teased you or bullied you or whatever it may be that's carried you on through adulthood that you believe your whole entire life.
Yeah.
And a lot of that emotional wound can also go the other route and cause more of the binge eating too. So it's really important to understand the keys of emotional state and what you're eating and why it's so important for you to hang on to it. But if you can shift to, I always say, stop looking in the rearview mirror or you're going to miss everything in front of you. And so if you can get rid of that mirror to always look back or be on rewind of every word that's been negative said to you, a lot happens when you can give yourself permission to identify those and let it go. And I'm not saying it happens snap of the finger, but it takes practice, prayer and practice. And it can be done, but it's going to take time. But I think if you can just identify, and it's just a big eye opener. So
yeah, I'm glad you came back to that, because again, just how important the mind is and how strong and powerful it is. So I think it was one of the last few podcasts, I said how in the Daniel plan, a group I'm facilitating, we know that our cravings can be changed and our gut bacteria can be shifted. Well, in 48 hours, Dr. Amen, who's huge on brain health, he said, you're 48 hours away from eating healthier. But when we're stuck in those cravings and the lethargic and the lack of energy to shop healthy and to eat the healthy, fresh, vibrant, colorful food, we stay there. And so then our health is detrimental. And so with thoughts, I feel like, well, if you're 48 hours away from eating healthier, if you make the switch, you're a few thoughts away from thinking healthier. Because we can get caught up. I mean, a month could go by and we could be in that same daunting, worried, dark thought process. But if you focus on those few thoughts, it's so amazing and powerful how the universe will start talking to you and the opportunities will come and things will brighten up and enlighten. And it does happen, and there is a cause and effect there. So it's very important. I know I keep saying that.
Say it one more time. No, just kidding. No, but Sean and I are here to help you. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're here for support too.
Absolutely. And if you have any topic requests, please feel free to message us or comment and let us know. And we're happy to put those on schedule for you and share some great education with you. Okay, here we go. Bye, guys.
Bye.